Hello everybody, Blue Dooley, and in this video, I'm proud to say my 3D printed parts for the RC Everyday Shop Truck chassis will be on my Cults 3D page. So the video is going to be a little short because I spent most of the day kind of fine-tuning some stuff, printing stuff, and you can kind of see I got some body work done, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. But the front and the rear suspension are completely finished. I'm happy with the way it works with the shocks I'm running. And the front, I'm gonna sell the front and the rear separate. That way, if you just want the front, you can just buy that and you don't have to worry about having all the rest of the stuff. So I'm gonna grab the camera and move you in closer so you can kind of see how everything works. There is some bump steer in my setup, but depending on what steering knuckles you run, that'll change kind of that. I'm using the RC Everyday brace to just kind of hold the chassis apart. And we'll try to get some more light on it. So this is how I'm going to run the setup. These steering arms are 4 millimeters thick, and they hold a 3 by 6 by 2.5 bearing. And I did get these sized right so they press in. Depending on how good your printer is, depends on how easy these bearings will print in. So the setup I'm running is I have a longer arm on this side, and I will mount the servo on the opposite side of the chassis and then run a link from the servo to this arm, and that will move the steering back and forth. Now, if you have a long enough servo horn, you could use a short arm on the passenger side and actually mount the servo over on the chassis rail and use the servo arm as your steering link. But you will need a long enough servo arm so you can put two rod ends side by side. This is the way I'm running it. I do have an alternative arm for a bell crank setup. So that one will allow you to, you can still mount the servo on the same part of the chassis, or like a steering box. And then when the servo pushes or pulls, that'll turn the wheels. Or, since these Reefs RC 55 micro are so tiny, you could actually mount it back behind and kind of tuck it between the transmission and the frame rails, and then run the bell crank up to it that way, completely hiding the servo if you want. Or I just don't have enough light in the office at the moment. Or you can mount the servo, a standard size servo, up front where the radiator would be, and then run the link that way. So I think with this setup you can pretty much run the steering however you want, depending on what you're building. So the front end kit comes with all the 3D printed parts. The knuckles and shocks, of course, you'll have to source yourself. I did design it to kind of run a drift car hub or knuckle. So again, depending on which brand knuckles you run, that might change how you need to run your links. I didn't quite get all of my links adjusted correctly, but again, that's going to really kind of depend on what knuckles you're running and how you want the truck to steer. I might have to, these don't come out quite far enough, so I might actually have to cut these a little longer and put a little bow in them so I get more steering throw. But that's just kind of be up to you to kind of fine tune that how you want. The shock towers, again, 50 or 52 millimeter shock. The opening in the upper shock is 18 millimeters from side to side. So this is my parallel 4-bar setup, and there's a panhard bar in here. The shock towers and the panhard bar on this particular way I have it set up bolt together. But that panhard bar is how you center the axle up. Again, that'll depend on your ride height and all of that. Come on. Apparently I have that too firm. So yeah. Basically a non-triangulated 4-link panhard bar. And I'm going to have to put some spacers in between my shock mount and the axle just so I can tighten these up pretty firm. But the truck does have not a ton of flex because, again, it's a street truck, not a off-road truck. So the other thing, we'll see if we can get you in here, is the axle mount without the panhard mount. If you trim this down a little bit, you could actually fit your leaf spring in here and use this as a like a ladder bar mount or a traction bar mount. But the rear suspension is going to have the link mounts for the front, link mounts on the axle, these very short shock tower mounts, so you don't have to, depending on the bed, you might have to clearance the bed a little bit, or you might not. So panhard mount, and then the opposite side, there's 2 different panhard mounts versions of this, depending again on your ride height. But all of this will be separate from the front. And these are, you can get these pretty low. So you can move both of these up a hole and get your length up a little more. If you want to really tuck that axle up, you'll have to come up with a little different suspension mount. But yes, I am, again, a little bit of bump steer just because of the way the knuckles interact with the steering. But I'm not terribly concerned with it because I just don't think the truck's going to move enough under cornering to really affect that. My bearing came out because I don't have any hubs on there, but like I said, I need to adjust my length a little bit to get a little more steering out of the truck. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. This is the most complex thing I've designed and 3D printed. The only thing with the bell crank is depending on how thick your steering rods are or your rod ends are, you might have to mount the motor up a little higher just to clear it. But again, that just kind of depends on what you want to do with the with your setup. So again, I'm going to get all the files on my Cults 3D page tonight, and so when you see this in the morning, you'll be able to buy my suspension, put it on your shop truck. Now, Josh did say that these frame rails are the same width as the rat rod chassis. So if you want to run my front suspension on the rat rods, you can. The rear of the rat rods are different, so I don't know if my rear suspension will work on it or not. You're more than welcome to try. But I also emailed Joshua the files for the whole truck. I do need to, I think I also sent him the revised steering end, but I sent them to him so he can give them a shot, try. I know he's kind of busy. He hasn't actually emailed me back, but I'm sure once he prints them out and tries them, he'll have a video on it too. So now we will cut over to the bodywork I got done. I only got this one corner gluing at the moment, so need to get that other side done, but we'll go cut to the clip where I'm out in the garage and explain how I cut all this stuff out. So I got the cab cut out. I had trouble with the doors. The hood came out okay. The doors, the radius here at the top, this one's split. But, and then when I was trying to do the driver's side with just an X-Acto blade, just slow slices, it actually just split. And took the bottom edge right off, so that needs glued back on. I did fray quite a bit. That was probably just the way I was trying to cut it. I was trying to use an old plumber trick. That's probably going to be hard to see, but some string, and just slice through it with the string for the radiuses. But the ABS ended up cutting my thread. Now I have seen plumbers use string to cut through PVC pipe in places they can't get a Sawzall or another kind of blade. You can actually wrap it around the pipe and saw it. That doesn't work on ABS, at least. Not sure. So all of the edges where I cut it will need to be filled with putty and sanded smooth. I nicked the top of the fender, so that'll need some body work. But I'm going to get it glued together, and then I'll fill it with fill everything with putty and get it sanded smooth. Get this piece glued back in here, and then figure out what I'm going to do for hinges for the hood and the doors. But that's going to do it for this video. Leave me a comment on door hinge and hood hinge suggestions. Subscribe so you can see more work on the Little Red Express. And click like, because that really helps out the channel. And clicking buttons doesn't cost you anything but a couple seconds. So we'll catch you in the next video.